Hello and welcome to the North Metro SBDC programming.
Hello, welcome. If you could, as we are admitting people here, letting a few people trickle in, if you could just in the chat drop your first and last name, number one, two, your business name if you have a business. If you don't have a business, just put that you haven't started yet. And then what city and zip is your business in? If you don't have a business, what city are you thinking about starting your business in? And then I'd like to know too, what are some challenges that you're experiencing either in your business or starting your business? What are some thoughts that are going through your head there? Hi, Jenny. Can actually see you. So we're going to give it about 30 more seconds here. And I am going to share my screen in just a moment here. Okay, Chad, I want to see, what do we got here? So you got Office Evolution in North Glen. Awesome. And Need Grow Co-working. Can you share a little bit about that really fast? What does that mean? Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, we have
Hi.
a lot of co-working spaces here and a great space. And all of our private offices are full. We have 45 private offices, but our co-working is still lagging. And we're celebrating our 4th anniversary this month, and it should be full. So I just don't know what we're not doing to attract coworkers.
Okay. So I don't think we're going to solve that today, but good to know and be thinking about, right? Let's see what we can do to move the needle forward. And then Corey, you got Frank Creates LLC. Corey Frank Creates LLC in Thornton. Need to grow audience and generate sustainable income. So some marketing, some following, build some following, and get some revenue going and increase that revenue. Yeah, let's get some sales. Okay, Caitlin Bovard. Hey, Caitlin, saw you on the last one. Colorado Six Therapy, Denver, Colorado. Challenges. Finding a sustainable flow for networking and keeping clients coming in after 6 years of ebbs and flow. Yeah. After a while, things kind of feel stale. It's like, well, what else can I do, right? I don't know what else to do at this point. Totally understand. So I'm going to move on here. If y'all can just, that are just joined, if you can just follow suit in the chat, just drop down below your first, last name. What's your business name if you have a business? If you don't have one, just put I don't have one yet. If you do have a business, what city is it in? If you haven't started your business, what city might you start your business in? And let's really be thinking too on this webinar. I really want to get engagement as much as possible. If you have a question, just unmute yourself and shout it out. Okay. I'm not going to be really looking at the chat that much because I'm monitoring the webinar as well as leading it. So do me a favor, if you have a question, instead of putting it in the chat, just reach out. Okay. Just open unmute yourself and just say, hey, quick question. Okay. So moving on, let me share my screen here really fast. And so real quick in the chat, if you can drop below, say, have you heard of mindset before? Is this something that's relatively new to you? If it's you've heard of it before, you've got some experience with it, put a 1 in the chat. If you've never heard of mindset or you like, okay, I've heard the word, but what the heck is it? I really don't know what it is. Put a 2 in the chat. Okay. So can everyone see? Is it blowing up for you? Thumbs up. Cool. Awesome. Thank you, Kathleen. So empowering entrepreneurs, mastering essential mindsets. So who am I, guys? I am the assistant director for the SBDC here at North Metro. And today I'm actually giving the webinar here on mindset. And I have had businesses in the past. I was a personal trainer for many, many, many years, as well as evolved into owning a gym. And I did that with a business partner of mine. And we had the gym for a couple of years, and then we sold it to another gym in town and got out of it. That following year, I continued in fitness for a little bit longer, kind of dabbling in the online space, and I was just over fitness. So moving on to new things. Currently, my partner and I, we own 2 rental properties and really looking to get more investments going at this point. It's a good game. It's passive-ish income, and it's pretty good business. So I'm a philosophy and neuroscience nut. Okay, I love it. Anything to do with the brain, the mind, and improving performance, productivity, things like that. I love it. Okay, so if that's something you like as well, hopefully we're going to get some value out of this today. The biggest thing too is I really love entrepreneurs. I love people who are willing to take risks and go and bust out the status quo and do things that are just, other people are like, why are you doing this? Just get a job, right? Anyone had that ever told to them before? Put a 1 in the chat if you've ever been told, hey, why don't you just get a job? Okay, so I will be starting to consult soon. I will make an announcement eventually, but I'm going to do that because I see a gap here in terms of some of the material. We've got a lot of great business consultants, great at business planning, marketing, etc. But there's the glue that ties it together, and that's the entrepreneur itself. So I want to help the entrepreneur be better. Okay, so why do businesses fail? So if we Google this or we look at research articles, things of that nature, usually what you're going to find is 3 or 4 main points, something like lack of money or cash flow issues, marketing problems, and poor management. And management here, we mean not managing a team per se, but managing the entire business, operations, how you run things, your systems, etc. So just a couple quick examples. Sales might slow down, and then all of a sudden you're like, cash flow. Corey, you said you want to get those sales up, right? Get some more revenue. We don't get enough revenue to cover expenses, plus we're not going to profit. If we can't cover our expenses, we're going negative, and that's not good. We do that too long, and we're going to run out of money. We're not going to be able to have a business, right? Expenses increase. Okay, so you might not be bringing in enough, but what if you buy too much stuff and then all of a sudden you have all these expenses, right? Or if you're in a retail space, who here is in a retail space? It's not cheap nowadays, right? Rental properties or rent, excuse me. So not keeping track of financials. For marketing, not enough info or wrong info about customers. How many of us are confused about marketing? Just put a 1 in the chat if you're like, man, marketing, I don't know what I'm doing there. I don't even know where to start. Yeah. Okay. This seems to be one of the biggest challenges for most entrepreneurs. And it is confusing. It's not intuitive, I think, to just understand, like, what do people want? Where do I find them? Things like that. So really understanding and making sure that you have your message clear. So if you're not speaking to your customers the right way, if you're not looking in the right place, think of a fishing analogy. If you go and throw a line in the water and all of a sudden there's no fish there because there's no food for the fish or whatever, you're not going to catch any fish. But if you can go down the river just a bit, maybe there's a much better area, right? So that's kind of the idea there. Poor management, you might have a bad customer experience that you're creating, no systems in place, lacking oversight over processes. So the real reason businesses fail. Let's think about this for a little bit. We'll go deeper in this as we go. But all of those things that we just talked about, ultimately, they fall back on the business owner, especially in the beginning. If you're starting a business, usually you're the only person involved. You're the sales person, you are the customer service person, you are the janitor, you're everything, right? And so if something goes wrong, typically it's because you didn't execute. Okay, let's be really real here. And it's a failure to execute. Now, I want to say this. Failure to execute doesn't equal failure as a person, right? It's really easy to identify with our experiences and to internalize that, especially in business. You put your heart and soul into this thing. And a lot of times it's something you're very passionate about. And if it fails, you're like, well, maybe I'm not meant to do this, right? But the reality is entrepreneurs fail all the time, all the time. It's just a matter of failing fast enough, learning from mistakes, and then correcting them, right? So failure to execute, really what we're talking about here is a failure to figure it out in time to make a difference. Okay, so there's three things that we can fail in: skills, knowledge, and mindset. Obviously, today we're talking about mindset. One last note here: failure to execute can be extrapolated. So once you do have employees, if they're not doing well, whose fault is that? Whose responsibility is that? Hint, the business owner, right? So Steve Jobs, he was really well known for hiring these killer A teams. And he was always talking about, if you find people who are the best, they're smarter than you in certain areas, you're going to have phenomenal products, services, whatever it is. But if you aren't good enough, you're not going to be able to attract people like that, right? Or in hiring, are you hiring the right people? Are you speaking to marketing to your employees, potential employees properly? So all of it comes back to the business owner. Let's revisit this really fast. So looking at this business failures as under the lens of the entrepreneur is the one who was not able to execute, we can see that lack of money, for example, if sales slow down, maybe the owner didn't have the capacity to put enough time into sales. They haven't put systems in place for other things to be taken care of so that they could sell more. Or perhaps they're not good at selling. Anyone struggle with sales here? Drop a one in the chat if you struggle with sales. If you're like, I don't like to sell, or maybe I'm okay at it, but yeah, or maybe I don't like to sell, but I'm okay at it. So you're already thinking negatively about it. You're not going to enjoy it. You're probably not going to want to do it very much, right? Or maybe it's a skill issue and you just can't sell properly. So one thing that side note, if you can charge higher prices and sell at a higher price than your competitors, you should, because that means you're going to have a more viable business. More profit equals healthier business. You can give more to your customers, actually. Pretty cool idea. Expenses increase. The owner, in this case, maybe the owner didn't make good judgments, right? When we had our gym, one thing we really messed up on was we paid way too much for a facility. Our rent was insane. And our space was huge. We didn't need that much space, probably half of the space that we had. It was cool. It was a great looking facility, but it was too much money. If we could have cut that in half, we would have made more. Marketing issues. So all three above, right? The owner didn't do their homework. There's a lack of planning. So this is where a lot of times we'll just get into businesses and just think of the analogy of jumping out of a plane without a parachute, and you'll build the parachute on the way down. We've all heard that, right? Let's just, can we agree that that's actually a really dumb idea? Would you actually do that ever? Jump out of a plane without a parachute? No, insane, right? So ideally, a business plan and thinking about your business and having some things lined up before you jump out of the plane is like actually having a parachute. And then you're still going to encounter issues on the way. Okay, so you get the idea here. So let's look at mindset. So what is mindset? I want, if you can drop in the chat, I want to see what y'all think about mindset here. Can you share what you believe mindset is? Just really quick. What's your thoughts on it in one or two sentences? And if somebody wants to share real quick and unmute themselves, I'd love to hear from you guys here.
I can share.
Yeah, awesome.
I hear a lot about affirmations when we talk about mindset, like how you talk to yourself, narratives, and that sort of thing.
Yeah. So the way we think and the way we're talking to ourselves, absolutely. That's a big part of it, right? So there's no perfect definition. This is just my definition here. And then we'll break it down a little bit more. So the general system of beliefs and attitudes you have about how you will operate in the world. So what do we mean by that? So first off, what are beliefs? Beliefs are ideas that you hold to be true. Okay, so just think to yourself, what's a belief that you hold to be true? Maybe a certain person that got tried recently, maybe you believe they're the worst person in the world. Maybe you believe they're the best person in the world, right? So these can be in your conscious awareness, something that we actually think about, that we're aware of, we're expressive about it, we talk to other people about it, and others, oftentimes, many beliefs are subconscious. They're rooted very deeply. We don't even know that they're there. We just see their effect in our lives, right? This is very powerful, and we need to learn to access this. So attitudes, similarly, are feelings you have regarding your beliefs. So it's kind of the sense you have about that situation. It's like, okay, well, this either feels right or wrong, or it's enjoyable to believe this, whatever, right? And that's going to impact the emotion and the sensations you have towards a thing. It's going to impact how you act with it, right? Think about that. How many people, relationships are a great example of this. Like, you have a person in your life that just brings joy to you, right? You want to be with them, sit with them, talk with them. And then you have other people that are like, they irk you, right? Maybe give you the ick. And you're like, nope, I'm done. I'm over. No more. Okay, so the attitudes matter tremendously. Another way of thinking about this is everyone has one of these little smartphones, right? Who doesn't have a smartphone? Anybody? So what controls this phone? Anybody can unmute themselves here. Since I can't see the chat, just go ahead and anyone unmute themselves. Just tell me what controls your phone or your computer.
The user.
The user? That's true, the user. But before the user can do anything with it, there's something else that's dictating the how the phone can behave. What is that? Any ideas?
The
The
operating
power
system.
source.
Operating
operating
system. Operating system. Very good. So operating system. So we have a iOS. If you have an iPhone, you know, iOS update. This, whatever number it's on now, right? So the operating system basically tells it, the phone, what it can do, how fast it can do it, how far it can do it. It creates limits and rules for how the phone should behave. And so essentially what a mindset is our operating system. Okay, it's going to tell us what we should do, when we should do it. Okay, so who thinks they're operating at the highest level possible right now? As a person, as a business owner. So if you think you can improve, put a 2 in the chat. Just drop that down below. So most of us probably drop into, I put like 10 2s because yeah, we can always get better. I can get way better. So moving on here. Any questions so far? I just want to address that really fast. Does anyone have any questions? Want to go deeper on mindset? Was that clear? Is there anything that didn't make sense about what a mindset is? No, okay. So mindset of the worst possible entrepreneurs. Now I want us to do a little thought experiment. Okay, if you wanted to fail at your business, like for sure, in a month, 2, 3 months, definitely a year, but you wanted to fill out your business. What would you believe? How would you operate in the world and in your business? Okay, so would you have self-awareness? Would you be like, yeah, that was not a good idea, I should change that? Or would you be completely oblivious to how you operate and how you think? So no self-awareness. That's a really bad idea. Be stuck in your ways, never willing to pivot, change. Okay, no, I believe this is the product that customers need. And then you have 0 people sign up. Maybe there's something wrong with what you're saying is valuable. Maybe no one sees value in it, right? So if you're stuck in your ways and you don't change, probably not going to get very far. You believe nothing is possible. You don't even know how you got this far, how you even exist, right? You're like, I'm just going to go sit in my room and do nothing because nothing is even possible, right? That's kind of depression, if you've ever felt that before. I've been there. And that's kind of what it is, right? It's like, what's the point? Nothing's going to get better. Afraid of everything. How many of us have fears? Not just business, but anything, just any fear. If you're human, you fear, right? Except for that guy, Alex Honnold. Have you guys seen that climber that does the free solo climbing? And he does it with no rope, and he goes where no one else can go. And apparently he doesn't feel fear. Okay. I don't know if that's true or not. But if you're afraid of everything, you're never going to try. But like, that's too scary. Yeah. Caitlin, you have a question?
No, sorry, I had taken off my video, so I was just agreeing.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you. So only consume, never create. Okay. So this is pretty typical of many people in this country, actually, right? We have a lot of people who just buy stuff and they watch Netflix all day long and maybe play video games. And I'm not knocking any one of those habits. This is not a judgment. This is judgment-free zone here. But if that's all you do and you never go out there and put effort and create and provide value, not going to get very far as a business owner. Okay. So I want you to think, though. Now, that's an extreme example, right? That's complete 180 from success. But think for a second, where have I exemplified at least one of these somewhere in my business? And maybe you don't do these all the time. Maybe you don't do all of them. But is there at least one that resonates with you from time to time? If it is, drop a 1 in the chat. And real quick, actually put the hand emoji up. Let's everybody do that, because that I can see apparently. Just so I can get a quick idea of what you guys are experiencing. Is anyone, or am I the only one that's not perfect here? Yeah, got a couple. All right. Anybody else? We got some sleepers. If you're driving, don't do this, okay? Okay, so of course, we've all experienced this in some capacity, right? So now let's look at the opposite, okay? So all we have to do is, if this is the recipe for failure, all we got to do is flip this on its head, and that's the recipe for success. Pretty cool idea. All right, let me see if I can, oh, there we go. Okay, so the top mindsets for success. Now, this is not an exhaustive list. It's just the ones that I think are some of the most important. So we want to have curious awareness, building curious awareness. I kind of stole this from the Buddhist / mindful movement. They call it mindfulness, but I'm adopting it for business owners. We want to have curious awareness. Okay, we'll get into that in a moment. We want to have growth mindset. So probably we've all probably heard of growth mindset at this point. If not, that's totally cool. But and I'm hopefully going to give you a new spin on this that is helpful for business purposes. Dream as if you were immortal. Live as if you were to die tomorrow. Interesting idea there. Feel the fear and do it anyway. So let's get into these. Curious awareness. So first off, who's heard of mindfulness? Who's actually either doing a practice of mindfulness, meditating, thinking about this in some capacity? Who's maybe read a book, seen a podcast? Tanya, Caitlin, anyone else? Go ahead, just put your hand up. Hand up, thumb up. Lynn, got a few of us. Cool. And if you haven't, this is going to be really, I think, eye-opening and exciting. I think this is very interesting here. So it's the idea of being present in the moment. In fact, I want you to take a moment here and just stop listening to me for 20 seconds and see, where is your mind? Are you here with me right here, right now? Or are you somewhere else? Are you thinking about laundry? About dinner tonight? About that 1,000 things you have to do on your to-do list? Where are you? So the idea of being present, this is the moment right now. We have no other moments. The past is gone. The future is not here yet. And when the future gets here, it's the moment. It's the present moment. So being present, very profound idea. Non-judgment of your thoughts, ideas, and others' thoughts and ideas. Now, I'm not saying that we don't evaluate things and that we don't think about whether something's good or bad, because that's just stupid. But we don't hold on with this emotionality to those judgments, right? So have you ever sat down, laid down, and looked up at the sky, and you just watched the clouds go by? I just watched them go by. Maybe not lately. As adults, we don't do that as much, but as kids, we do that all the time, right? It's such a peaceful experience. Or maybe you sat by a freeway or something and just watched the cars go by. Our thoughts are like those cars or like those clouds. They come screaming in. The only difference is, instead of watching it go by and letting it go, sometimes we grab a thought, we hold on to it, and we get obsessed about it. And we just go over and over and over on the same thought. Who's ever experienced that? Let's put our hands up on that one real quick, because that one messes us up sometimes. And as entrepreneurs, we tend to be a little bit more emotional, a little bit more stuck on thoughts and visionary, right? And so this can be challenging for us. You want to be curious about those thoughts. If you start to build a curious relationship to your thoughts, instead of judging them, you go like, I wonder where that came from. Why am I thinking that? That's interesting. Instead of going, wow, that's terrible, and then pushing it away. Because maybe it has something valuable to teach us, right? And this sets the stage for understanding your mindsets better. All the other mindsets. If we're not aware of our thoughts, like we said earlier, knowing our beliefs is going to be paramount to being able to change our beliefs and our mindsets. So we want to help to gain understanding here. It also helps to begin to create space between who we are now and who we want to become. So it gives us this little time and space where we can actually then stop and choose what direction we want to go. Otherwise, we're being driven by our default thoughts, like the rest of our history, right? In our past. Helps to uncover the subconscious. So I basically said that already. So here's an action item for you. I really am big on providing action steps for you. And one thing you could do is sit in silence regularly for at least 5 to 10 minutes, daily, a few times a week, maybe just on the weekends. Allow the thoughts to come up, and then practice just watching them and letting them go. And that could be letting them go away or letting them stay there. They might want to stay, but you're creating this space of awareness and curiosity. Okay, so any questions on that? Anybody vibing with it? Get some of this going here. So the next idea here, growth mindset. So with growth mindset, it's buzzword nowadays. First, we have to understand, what is fixed mindset. So fixed mindset is essentially you're stuck on thinking that you are the way you are in a specific trait or personality or characteristics. Okay, so let's take it back to elementary school. How many of us are not good at math? How many of us are not a math person? Put your hand up. I want to see. Who's not a math person? Who thinks that? Anyone? Everyone's good at math here. Lovely. Okay. Think to yourself, what is one thing? Drop it in the chat if you're okay sharing. Drop it in the chat. What is one thing that you feel sort of stuck on? That's like, that's who I am. Nobody's going to change me. You might even say it occasionally to a significant other or parent or a child. And that's just the way I am. Okay. Stop trying to change me. Right. So if that language comes out, that's a fixed mindset. That's not necessarily bad or good, but it's fixed. And if it stays that way, you're not going to change, right? You're just already creating resistance. So really big key here is the brain is plastic. Who's heard of neuroplasticity? Big buzzword nowadays, neuroscience. Yes, awesome. Who's like, I don't know what that is though. I'm like, I don't know what neuroplasticity is. What the heck is neuroplasticity? That's weird. So what a neuron, just real quick, neuron is one cell in the brain. We have billions upon billions upon billions upon billions of those in our brains. That's insane. So neuroplasticity is basically the ability of the brain to change, to adapt, to learn, to grow, to make new connections, to release connections, unlearn things, right? Very, very interesting and important. I'm going to show you a video in just a moment to really highlight this. So growth mindset, actually, let's go to that right now. Check this out. Okay. That was slightly disturbing, but also very intriguing, right? So those were neurons trying to make connections, and some of them succeeded and they made connection with each other. And the brain is constantly trying to do this. And certain habits, practices will help us create that more, and others will inhibit that. Very interesting. So just the idea of having a growth mindset alone, the idea of believing that you can learn, you can get better, you can increase your intelligence. That thing that you say you're fixed mindset about, I'm not a math person, is not true. It's just a belief that you've had. And so we want to break that and we want to turn that around into, I believe I can do it. I know I can do it if I put the time, energy, effort into changing it, into getting better at it. Okay. And we know this is true because of the research of neuroplasticity, the neuron's capacity to grow and link. So some things come with this. Failure is not final. So if you've ever failed before, if you've ever failed your business, if you've ever failed school, if you've ever failed anything, it hurts. But if we can reframe that and say, look, failure is not final. That's not the end of the world. In fact, that's good. I learned something. I know what not to do now. But you have to actually make the effort in changing it, right? And then you will grow. So use curious awareness to notice where you're fixed in your mindsets, okay? So an action I want us to do is, once you identify where your fixed mindsets are, is use self-talk to change from fixed mindset to growth mindset. If somebody would be willing to give me just an example of a fixed mindset that they have, something they think that they're kind of stuck in their self-identification. Who's willing to share that? Caitlin or Kim, you got your hand up? Go ahead. Unmute yourself.
Go for it, Kim.
Sorry, I hit the mute in the wrong spot.
No, you're good.
I'm
You still have your head up.
I'm kind of in the process of changing my business. And I think it's changing a little quicker than I wanted it to, because I'm not quite ready to go on to my next adventure. But one thing that I'm struggling with is I give riding lessons. And it seems lately I have not been able to connect with the youth as well as I used to.
So what might be like language that you use to yourself that kind of demonstrates fixed mindset there?
Well, it's really actually pretty brand new since the last couple months. It's just the kids gravitate towards the youth, or like my teenagers that have helped me, or my younger instructors who are like in their 20s. So I've kind of started this, and I know it's wrong sitting here talking to you about it, but just, you know, I'm 61, and I don't know if it's like you just brought up language. I don't know if it's the language I use, or, you know, you always hear growing up about the generation gap. I feel like I'm kind of fallen into that a little bit.
Yeah, and we're not going to fix this today, but this is just food for thought. So maybe there's maybe there's some self-talk in there of, I'm too old to connect with the younger crowd. Now I'm too out of touch. I don't know how to relate to them anymore. There could be a number of different things that we're thinking about that, but all of those are judgments, right?
Yes.
And so what we need to be able to do is say that's not true. It's just a belief, and then rewrite that. So I encourage you to go back and rewrite and say, I feel like I'm too old to connect with this age group, but I know that's not true. I just need to figure out how to do it. I just need to figure out where the disconnect is at, right? So there does seem to be a disconnect, right?
I'm sorry, the disconnect seems to be like the values have changed. There's so many, you know, and there's so many kids that are all about themselves, and even just the physicalness of people, the fitness of people. I mean, I don't want to sound judgmental, because I've always let everybody ride my horses, but I've gotten to a point where I've had to put a weight limit on my horses, because I'm physically hurting my horses, because I've got people that are in their mid 200s that want to ride horses. And it's just gotten to a point where, you know, I had to put a weight limit on, because these poor horses. So, you know, I take everybody in. So I know I started talking about kids, but I'm really just, you talked about the beliefs earlier. Some of my beliefs are just seem to be so different than a lot of people nowadays.
So thank you for sharing that. I think this is a really good example, actually. And this is where sometimes the struggle can come in, and it's like, well, I almost don't want these people.
Yeah.
and so I think you can decide to not take these people, right? That's up to you, as well as a business. If you can find other customers that are in your ideal situation, ideal customer, and you can reach them and don't need these other people, that's okay. If you do need them, then we got to figure out how to bridge the values. If in fact the values are different, which they may or may not be, that might be a judgment as well that we're making, right? But let's just assume that they are. Then figure out, what are their values? What are some of the top things? And ask some of the people in that age group that seems disconnected. And then figure out, how do my values and their values, how do they align? Where can we build bridges? Because as humans, usually we're way more similar than we are different. And we have opportunity to build bridges if we make that effort, right? Just like the neurons.
Yeah.
That's what I encourage you to do. So
okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Kim. We're gonna move on, but that's the general idea there. And in fact, so that I love that idea that we got to go through that, guys, because take this back and apply this to your situations and see if there's a value mismatch somewhere. How do I marry those values together? if from where I am to where I want to be, right? And it doesn't necessarily be with other people. Sometimes it can be within ourselves, the current me versus the ideal me. Okay, so put a one in the chat if that was valuable for you. If you're like, yeah, that was awesome, or a hand up, because that's powerful stuff right there when we make those shifts. So dream as if you were immortal, live as if you were to die today. So business, Simon Sinek, anybody know Simon Sinek? He talks about this idea that business is an infinite game, not finite, but infinite. It means it goes forever. There's no such thing as winning and losing. And that's because we just live, we're in the business. And then if we stop the business, it's because we just didn't continue doing the things that were necessary to stay in it. It was a choice ultimately to just stop playing the game or we die, right? But if we were able to live forever, infinitely, you could conceivably have a business that went on forever. And most likely you would get wiser, smarter, more effective, have all the tools, more resources, more networks, and you would just get better and better and better. Okay, so I want you to start thinking about your business in this long-term vision capacity and really build a huge vision around this, your idea and what you want to do. So if you lived forever, what could you accomplish? Think about like just putting more time on the things that you've already achieved. What couldn't you accomplish? Right? Let's reframe that question. What couldn't you accomplish? Powerful. If you stop procrastinating and only focus on the most important things, how much could you get done? Okay, so this is a little bit different direction here. One is what is possible? Okay, if we stop procrastinating, so now it's like, now we're back in the immediate, the urgent. What's getting in the way of getting the thing done here right now? And usually it's lack of focus, distraction, maybe lack of motivation, could be many things, but there's a concept, memento mori. It's a Latin term that the Romans would use, particularly Roman soldiers, Roman generals. They would actually have a slave follow them back home from the battlefield, constantly saying, memento mori, memento mori. And it was to remind them, because what this means is remember that you will die. So it was basically saying, you got lucky this time, right? You did good, general, but you got lucky. Next battle, you might not be so lucky. You might fall off your horse on the way back home. You might get sick with COVID. And who knows, right? So life, it is going to end for all of us, right? But we don't know when. Could be tomorrow, could be today. We don't want that. But if we keep that frame of reference, that helps to create some urgency in our lives to think, you know what? I don't have a lot of time. I need to get moving here. Let me get rid of the things that don't matter and only focus on the things that do. So now we have the big vision, living forever, and the I'm going to die tomorrow. And we match them and we say, what are the little things I got to get done every day that's going to take me to this big vision? And that's my plan, and that's my priority, and that's it. I'm going to let everything else go. I'm not going to hold on to dumb stuff, petty things, emotional things that I shouldn't worry about. I'm not going to deal with people that I shouldn't worry about. I'm not going to play games that I don't want to because it's not taking me where I really, 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 truly want to go, right? So who here wants to be broke and never help anyone in your life? Rhetorical question. Okay, so of course we don't, right? But we might be doing some things that are keeping us from experiencing more wealth or more impact. So the best way to increase both is to be super focused on one goal. We basically covered this. Many entrepreneurs have shiny object syndrome. Who struggles with that? Hand up if you're like, from one week to the next. It might not be with your product or service. Everybody's. Yeah, a lot of entrepreneurs tend to be ADHD, actually, by the way. So it comes with the territory. And we also see so many other people around us that are having success. And it's like, oh, maybe I should do that. Oh, maybe I should do that. But you got to pick something, and you should stay with one thing. How many of us have more than one business that we're currently working on? Okay. Okay. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but stop doing that. Kill your other businesses. Pick one and kill the rest. Think about it like this. If you had 8 kids, octuplets, how good do you think you'd be at helping all 8 survive? You think you need some help? Think you can do it on your own? 8 mouths to feed all at the same time. You'd figure it out. But do you think the kids are going to struggle a little bit? They're going to suffer a little bit because you don't have the same time energy for each one? Versus if you just had one kid, and I'm like, I'm going to put all my energy into this one kid for 18 years. They're going to get all the resources. They're going to get all the energy, all the attention, right? It might be a little spoiled, but they're going to be okay. We only have so much energy and time, right? So I'm not telling you what to do, but kill your other businesses. Think about that. That's all. So action, write out the most important goal that you want to accomplish by the time you're 100 years old. Okay. Believe that you're going to get there. You're going to do the things necessary to keep healthy, strong, and get there and achieve this goal by 100. Look at it every day. And then also remember memento mori. So we have that urgency. Okay. So feel the fear, do it anyway. So fear can be crippling. Who's tried to do something maybe physical, like jump, skydive, or bungee jump, or high dive off a high cliff or something? Who's just, no, I'm not messing with that. Right? Or go talk to that person that you're like, wow, they're stunning. I just want to go say hi, right? But you're like, they're gonna reject me, right? Fear can be crippling, and it holds us back from achieving so many amazing things for ourselves and helping others. So the thing is, entrepreneurship is full of uncertainty. A reason why a lot of people stay in jobs is because of the perceived uncertainty of entrepreneurship. And it's true. You never know what's actually going to happen, right? You're like, well, I'm doing all this, but who knows? COVID happens. There's anomalies, things like that all the time. So we need to learn to deal with fears, not just be less afraid, but have the fear there and lean into it and just do it anyways. That's courage, right? So practicing curious awareness is going to help. That mindfulness practice, curious awareness, will actually help you feel less afraid. It actually calms the centers of the brain that have to do with fear and the parts of the brain that help to control your emotions. So that's good. You're doing that, but we're still going to feel fear sometimes. So this is a great exercise to help you weigh whether something is actually something you should avoid, because not all fears are bad, right? Fear is there for a reason. You can unmute yourself. I want to hear a couple people, like, what's one thing that you should fear because it's dumb or dangerous? Anybody?
Driving without a seatbelt.
Driving without a seatbelt. Not the best idea, right? Anything else? How about inviting a bear to your picnic? Hey, mama bear with 2 cubs, cute little cubs. You want some honey? Right? You're probably going to feel fear, and you should. That's really dumb. Okay, so things that are truly dangerous, we should avoid, or we should be very, very, very prepared if we're going to encounter those things. So this is called practical pessimism, is a tool that helps you to identify, is this a legitimate fear that I should get more prepared for or completely avoid? Or is this something that I'm just making up and I'm just overly emotional about it, but I should do it anyways? Okay, so what's the worst that could happen? You should ask yourself, and here's an example. Let's say you want to buy some equipment, or you want to release that building out, or you want to start a business to begin with. right? That's a great example. Is what's the worst that could happen? Ask yourself, literally write it down, okay? And maybe you figure out, well, I'll lose a lot of money. I can go bankrupt. So let's just say that's the worst case scenario, go bankrupt, lose my house, etc. Now, if that does happen, can you recover? And what would it take to recover? Okay, is what you want to ask yourself. So all of us here seem to be doing okay. You seem to have a roof over your head. You seem to be nourished, well nourished. So that means you're doing something right. You're making some money. You're able to pay for your certain things of yourself, managing your wealth, etc. Right? So if you lost your business, do you think you could get a job? You think you could go back and find some work somewhere, do what you were doing before maybe? You think you could earn some income? You think you could stay at a family or friend's house to help out in the meantime? So yes, it would be a bad thing. It would be tragic, but you could bounce back. Okay. And you have the benefit of learning from that mistake. Now, what's the best that could happen? You want to write that down. What's the best that could happen? I start a business, it's successful. I'm a millionaire. I have generational wealth. I'm helping all these people. I have impact. I'm well liked in my community, whatever those benefits are for you. It's pretty awesome stuff. Okay, how would that positively change things for you? We kind of alluded to that, generational wealth. You get to do all the fun stuff you want to do, vacations, travel, buy that car, the Tesla, the Cybertruck, or whatever it is for you, right? Now you weigh the two sides. If the negative is like, well, yeah, that's kind of bad, but I don't think it's that likely to happen to go that south. And if it does, I can recover. But the upside is freaking amazing. What's the logical conclusion? What should you do? Anyone? What should you do? What do you guys think?
Raise a question.
Yeah. So if you wait it out and the negatives, they were bad, but you can recover. But the positives were great. What should you do? Should you not build that business, or should you go for it? Right? Let's go to the microcosm. Figure that out. What is that thing for you in your business right now that you're afraid of? Is it talking to people? Is it pulling a trigger on spending more marketing? Figure out, weigh that, use this tool. So use practical pessimism. Now, once you have what you want to achieve, pick something that is associated with that fear that you can do daily, a little tiny piece. It's like you're inoculating yourself one discomfort at a time. Do something you're afraid of or embarrassed of within that realm. Okay, so let's say you want to be a pro singer, but you're like, I can't sing in front of people. I'm afraid of it. Start singing in front of the mirror first. You got one person audience. You're looking at yourself. Sing to some babies. Then maybe sing to your mom, right? Slowly increase that. Then eventually you'll be like, you know what? I'm gonna go to the subway downtown, the restaurant downtown. I'm just gonna knock on a bell, ring a bell, and get everybody's attention, and start singing in front of everyone. Right? Bésame, bésame mucho. Right? It is not so bad anymore. Okay. So I have concerts Friday nights. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so that's feel the fear and do it anyways. Any questions so far? We're getting close to the end here. How we doing? How we doing? Energy. Going good? Awesome. So moving forward here. Okay, I got a bonus mindset for you. Creativity mindset. So it's similar to growth mindset in the sense of your creativity is all about figuring things out, right? Solutions to things and being different and unique. The big difference is growth mindset is I can achieve it. Creativity is I can achieve it, but I'm going to create something very unique as well. How many of us don't feel creative or we don't think we're creative? Put your hand up if you're like, I struggle to be creative. I don't think I'm very creative. Anyone? Everyone's creative here.
I struggle
great.
with it under like a deadline or like under pressure.
Sure. That changes things, right? Absolutely, for everyone. Maybe in certain areas of your business, maybe you feel a little less creative than others. If you feel that way, that's fixed mindset, number one. So change that. Two is we can work on creativity. How do we do that? Okay. So the main idea here is practice being creative. So what is creativity? Let's just think about what a business does in order to be competitive is it innovates. It doesn't have, you don't have to create something brand new. Elon Musk didn't create a brand new vehicle. He just said, I'm taking a car, I'm gonna make it electric. He didn't even create the electric car idea, right? I'm just gonna do it better than anybody else. Okay. That's innovation. Take something that already exists, just tweak it 1%. That creates value. Make sure it creates value for people. And so practicing that is every night, here's an action. Every night, write down all your thoughts from the day. This is good for many reasons. One, you're emptying your head, so you're going to sleep better. Two, you have a recollection of your ideas. And three, you're practicing honing your ideas, creating your ideas, accepting them, actually honoring them. How many times do we get an idea and we're like, that's stupid? We don't even give it a chance. Give it some oxygen, let it breathe, right? So that's creativity mindset. Okay, so let's put it all together. So obviously that's not all the mindsets in the world that you can have. I encourage you to go back over the next week or so, maybe this Friday, spend some time answering things from each of those mindsets that we covered and thinking about what other mindsets are out there that I have that are important for me, that are holding me down. So remember, how do we find our mindsets, our beliefs? We kind of alluded to this. By having curious awareness, we're going to allow the thoughts to come to our mind, but also a really great indicator of what our mindset is the results that we're creating. And so just to call you out there, Corey, thank you for being vulnerable. You said more revenue, right? Is that because of my sales? Is that because of my marketing? Where am I breaking down in one or multiple places? I'm not creating the results that I want. That's going to be a really good indication of mindset issues, beliefs that you have that are creating resistance. So, quick analogy. You're in a car driving, okay? And you put your foot on the pedal, gas pedal, but you don't go anywhere, right? What's going on? What do you think's happening? Anyone? I want to hear. What's going on? You're putting your foot on the gas, but you're not going anywhere. What's going on? What's
Either it's
probably
not
happening?
on or
What
the
is it?
emergency brake. Either your car's not on or the emergency brake is.
Car's not on. That's definitely, yeah. If your car's not on, you're really at the bottom of some belief issues, right? Let's say we turned the car on, we started pushing the gas, we took the e-brake off. Because this is very analogous to what we actually do. We're stepping on the brake pedal and the gas pedal at the same time, right? There's something called resistance. Have we ever felt that before? We're trying to get stuff done, but it's like, I can't, like something's holding you back, right? You procrastinate. So that's resistance. And what that is that's a disempowering belief somewhere in your psyche that's keeping you from just letting go and going and do it. If we had zero limiting beliefs, zero disempowering beliefs, we'd all be Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. And I'm not trying to say they're the most amazing people in the world, but in terms of business success, they're a pretty good model, right? You think they care what other people think? Not that much, right? You think they are worried about what they're going to eat for breakfast, what they're going to wear? Steve Jobs wore the same thing every day, right? He did that to really reduce resistance. That was a way of stepping off the brake and on the pedal. Okay, so that's what we want to do. We want to create as many mindsets and beliefs that help us push on the pedal and get rid of as many beliefs and mindsets that are having us press down on the brake, okay? So actions that we talked about, do all those other actions, but some other things that we could do, journaling, Very powerful, very powerful. Actually rewires the brain. It helps us to become aware of our thoughts and ideas. And there's so many other ones. Okay. For brevity's sake, if you have more questions about that, reach out to me. Okay. So ultimately, why do businesses fail? Because us as business owners don't operate, we don't execute. So we've taken care of the mindset one, we're going to be better there. Now we can start to acquire our skills and knowledge and really, really start pushing the pedal to the metal. So if you've gotten value from this, if you feel like you feel empowered by this, just drop a fire emoji in the chat or hand up, just let me know. Or if you want to, yeah, anyone has any questions, please let me know right now. What questions do we have? Decent amount of information to digest. What's one takeaway? I want to hear from 2 or 3 people. What's one big takeaway for you specifically? Let's see. Frank, are you able to unmute yourself? Frank, you with us? He's going to watch the recording. Tanya, if you're still with us, what's one major takeaway for you? You guys didn't think I was going to call on you. Josephat Ombacho, thank you for being here, sir. What's one takeaway for you?
Sorry, I came in a bit late, so...
No problem. Well, anything you got from it? What's one little thing you got from it? A nugget?
I'm kind of trying to learn. What comes first? Is it looking for a building or looking for finances first?
So
if
that's
you want to operate.
Say that one more time.
If you want to start up a business and maybe you had, like me, I have a food truck, but I want to go into restaurant.
Got it.
What comes first? Is it the finances or getting the building first?
Yeah, perfect question. So that's a very specific question that I would encourage you to get on a free consultation with our consultants with.
Yeah.
And then they'll be able to help you with that specifically. But something I would encourage you to do is think about it for yourself and try to determine the right answer.
Yeah.
And some of that can be sometimes mindset, right?
Yeah.
Of what's the right answer for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Corey, what's one takeaway for you?
The portion where you were talking about the kind of non-judgment toward your thoughts. Like, I'm really good about taking a thought and beating myself over the head with it. So
yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's tough. We get stuck in patterns, right? Negative thinking and emotions. Who else, just so Corey can see, like, she's not alone. Who else experiences that? One in the chat. Okay, hand up. Yeah. Most entrepreneurs are pretty freaking hard on themselves. Kathleen, I'm curious, what was one takeaway for you?
Getting told again to focus and drop my other business. I need to do it. I just can't do it because I have one that has limited revenue, but I'm making money. And then another that has more, like I can make a lot more money, but I can't get a sale. And I'm having trouble focusing on it to do more. I just need to stop my other business.
So thank you for that. That's a great dilemma, right?
It's frustrating as heck.
Frustrating, yes. So there's definitely some mindset stuff around that, I can already tell, but also just business, maybe some specific strategy tactics. Highly encourage you to jump on a free consultation with some of the consultants, and let's get you through that. Let's get you a plan to scale the other one up so that you can get rid of the other one and grow how you really want to grow. So last little thing here, guys, we do have free consulting as the SBDC, and it really is truly free in the financial sense. There's zero financial investment up front or ever. You never have to pay a dime. But it does cost time and energy. But I want to encourage you, if you've never taken advantage of this, or you have, but you haven't really done it in a while, and you're struggling with anything, you have questions about your business, let's get you into an appointment with a consultant. And if it's something specific about mindset, email me. Okay, I'll drop my info in a second here. Well, I will email everyone this recording in a few days. And so when you get that email, if you have any questions about mindset, you can just reach back out to me, and then we'll go from there. We can set up a time to connect and possibly do a consultation around that. Or I can point you towards another business consultant if need be. So thank you all for being here. It was a pleasure. And I hope that you can take some of this and grow from it. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
You take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.